Hello everybody, going a little bit off topic here today. We're going to take a look at these earbuds, but before we do, a little explanation. You might remember about a year and a half ago, a lot of the big name pilots were talking about flying to music, and I think they were probably getting those questions on their YouTube videos because of their flying style and how it seemed to be set to music, and so they talked about that a little bit. And I tried that as well. I just didn't find it successful for me. I found it distracting. But I wanted to revisit that after, some time of maybe building up my flight skill level to see if I could do it. And one of the things that I tried was various headphones. I actually have two sets just like this. I don't know why I bought two. For some reason I thought the second set was smaller, but the one set I've got out here, they're pretty traditional, pretty large size. These are Skull Candy, I think that's their icon. I tried these as well, and I just felt these were too bulky to have your FPV goggles on and have these over the top. It felt like I was just strapping my face down. And then I tried some of these. These are the Power Beats, and these were okay. They work all right. I've since passed them on to my son because I found that the neck strap, the strap that I put it down behind my neck, that bothered me as well. And then as we got into baseball season and softball season and we started traveling and we were staying in hotels, I found that I wanted to catch up on some of my viewing for whether it was YouTube or just chill out and watch some Netflix. But I don't have the same sleep schedule that the rest of my family has. And being all in the same room, I couldn't just let it play. I found that packing these just wasn't very handy. So I get emails all the time about trying to review stuff that's really outside of my spectrum, everything from a toothbrush to a shower sort of thing that, I don't know why those things come through all the time, but they do. So I went back through and I started digging through those for the purposes of trying to find something, because when you search for, I was looking on Amazon, and when you search for earbuds like this, there are just so many. And then you can go through and you can pick out the Amazon reviews and things of that nature. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And these came in at about 60 bucks, 65 bucks, something like that. And so I thought, well, I'll give them a shot. Just because they looked small, they seemed promising. That's the general gist of this, is they seemed promising, so I wanted to give them a shot. And so these are the Earbuds by, they're designed by LiteXim, LiteXim, something like that. They come in a fairly substantial box, but you see here on the side that this little case also has a 500 milliamp battery inside to charge it. It has stereo sound, ergonomic design, all the things you would expect to see, and there's also some accessories, but let's open the box and we'll take a look at those. So we've got this quick start guide, and we've got some instructions, pairing, things of this nature, and pairing is relatively straightforward. And then we've got charging. You don't need an app on your phone or anything. They have these QR codes, but you don't need to use those. Basically you just connect them up via Bluetooth, and in this side, this little box is our accessories. You can see we've got some extra pieces that go around, and we'll take a look at that. And then we've also got some of the inserts that go inside your ears. So you can see we've got the different earplugs. They are a little bit different sizes for different ear sizes. I just left the stock ones that it came with, and then we've got these outer pieces, and then we have a little flat USB charging cable. So the first thing that I noticed about this was I had troubles getting into the case. You've got this little press button on the front, and I really think this needs to be a little bit more spring-loaded. You see it came open there for me real easy, but I've kind of figured out my way around it. So this doesn't necessarily release it or let the lid come up, but if you press on it hard enough, you get that little crack, and then you flip it open. The first time I was pressing down on it, and it would click, and I would click, and I couldn't get it open. I had to lick my fingers, and I would do you just got to press on it a little bit harder, and it does raise it up just that ever so bit. So that was the first thing I had to overcome. Charging it just comes via the USB on the back, and you can see where it says power and then left and right, and that tells you the charging status of the earbuds. Hopefully you can see those holes right there. Getting these out is relatively simple. They just kind of slide out, and you can see the contacts down there. They line up right here. They only fit in one way. And then the first time when you bind them, you long press both of the earbuds, and then they turn on, and you can actually hear it in your ears if you put it in your head. But you can see that it's now flashing, so that's indicating that it's on. I'm uncertain what this would do for us. These little loops or holes, is this another way of carrying these? I never used that part. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to get a pair like this so they could use them on the road, and I also tried them while I was flying a little bit, but my skill set still isn't there to where I could actually fly to music or make it even remotely close to the soundtrack that I might be listening to. But it does charge up fairly quickly, and I found that the life on these was relatively long. And as far as the sound goes for these, they sound just as good as the others that I showed out here. Even the Beats, and I've read a little bit about Beats being a little bit overrated and maybe more brand than quality. But there was one particular video that I was watching. I think it was a Watch Mojo, if you've seen any of those. And they use a lot of different voices in their videos, and it was a male voice, and I thought it sounded a little bit weird. Now, I just didn't know if I wasn't familiar with the male voice or if it's just a unique sounding male voice. So I remember I kind of, I bookmarked that particular video so I could come back to the desk and I could listen to it through my headphones. And through the wired headphones, it still sounded the same. So it was just me, and in my particular case, I was thinking that I had heard something that was a bit off about these, but that's not the case. One other thing I should point out is you can use just the right if you just want to use one, but I was not able to make it work with just the left. It seems to be the left requires the right to be powered on, otherwise this one won't fully turn on to where it connects via Bluetooth to your phone so you can listen to something. Now I'm going to play you a little bit. It'll be just something open source music, but it's not really a true sound, but here it goes. For me, these fit just fine in my ear the way they come right out of the case. We do have those other pieces that we can use to fit different ear hole sizes, and I thought they sounded fine. Now, I'm not someone who's going to be necessarily all that discerning about whether it's great sounding or not, so unfortunately in this part of the review, I would not try to tell you that they sound as good as something else or worse than something else. They sounded just as good as any of the headphones I've used, whether they were wired or wireless. I thought the amount of time that I listened to them, I really didn't have. Matter of fact, I think on 2 separate weekends, I closed this up. I left it in the luggage that I had it in, and then we went back to another tournament the next weekend, and they were still charged up, and I must have used them for probably 2 hours the next time, and they were still fine. I do think that they have a low battery warning that you hear through the earpiece, but I never got to that point. So I had a couple hours of use in them and one charge. Of course, I was putting them back in the case here, and it does charge these up. You can see there it's charging the right now. It charges them as needed when it comes to their placement inside the case, which is a really nice feature. Also, they don't rattle around. You see we have some foam up there, so if you close it, you don't hear the earbuds moving around and jostling about in there. So that seems to be fully thought out. I didn't have any complaints when it came to that. Really, the only complaint that I have is the fact that it took me that extra moment to figure out that I needed to press a little bit harder to get this to come up so I could get my fingernail into there. So I think if you're looking for some relatively inexpensive earbuds to listen to, whether it's on your cell phone or whatever purpose you have, these are all right. You know, I don't think you'll be disappointed in them, especially if you're someone like me who's not really into high fidelity. You're not spending hundreds of dollars on headphones. You're just looking at something that's reasonable and that gives you the feature set you're looking for. So this does have a battery inside, so you can charge it when you're not using them, or if you don't have access to whatever reason, which is really rare anymore, to a micro USB, which I'm glad they use that instead of any other USB. Because it's most prevalent. If you're looking for this feature set and you're looking for something that's reasonable, I think this is a pretty decent set to look at. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions about this, please let me know in the section down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.